I can't see anything, but that's okay. Dear friends, colleagues, students, and well-wishers of the UT, welcome to the opening of the academic year 2023-24. This event will be live transcribed in English. The minister will be speaking in Dutch. If you want to use this service, please scan the QR code or use the link on the screen. I'll give you a minute to scan it if you need it. At the opening of the academic year, it is tradition to take a moment to honor the memory of UT staff and students whom we've lost in the past year. Let us observe a moment of silence for our colleagues Peter Aukes, Peter Paul Bolscher, and our students, Yannick Polman, Tony Huzau, Erkin Turan, and Taina Shaw. Thank you. Friends, we last held the opening of the academic year in the center of Enschede exactly 10 years ago. It was a spectacle back then. The cortege walking through the city center, past the pubs on the Oude Markt, you get the same sorts of looks that we got today, to the music center. And the image today was arguably even more spectacular because we enriched the solemn procession of professors in toga by the inclusion of many, and particularly our students, who give color and voice to the polyphonic UT community. I'm therefore delighted to once again be celebrating the formal opening of our academic year here, in this beautiful Wilming Theater, named after a Twente icon, highlighting our commitment to and the connection with the city and the region. In these 10 years, we have grown considerably, with some 30% more students and 30% more staff than back then. It's an important development that matches our conviction that we must make meaningful societal impact by educating our share of the technically skilled talent needed to tackle the great transformations that we as a society are facing. And we have, of course, a very special guest in our midst today, our Minister for Education, Culture and Science, Robert Dijkgraaf. When we discussed your contribution to our opening of the academic year, Minister, the government had not yet fallen, and we thought it would be a fantastic opportunity to showcase our innovations, our culture of collaboration, our impact, and to send you back with some messages for Den Haag. Things are a little bit different now. But I really hope that you actually are now in a position to sort of share and philosophize with a little bit less restraint. And share with us your ideas and your dreams, your hopes and your wishes for the future of education, of higher education in this country, underpinned by your own vision and drive for science. And I hope inspired by what you've just seen in the last hour and a half in the city. You know, the last time a minister stood here by the opening of the academic year was 2009, and that was Roland Plasterk. And you know, he also talked about sort of how things needed to change in higher education. And a year later, we had the Commissie Veerman, the report from the Commissie Veerman, and we're sort of, you know, a little bit further along, and the things are more or less the same sorts of issues. And we have a report from the Commissie Bormans, and we have a report from the Commissie Sterkens, and there's an AVTI report. Maybe we should start thinking about doing something about the higher education system rather than just talking about it. And I think that you have some ideas about that. But the fact that you're here and that the cabinet is demissionaire does not, however, mean that we don't have messages to give to you and to the political leadership and Parliament, and particularly Parliament. On the contrary, in a drastically changed political landscape with uncertainty looming before us, it's imperative that we continue to ensure that we make responsible choices. And I refer then to responsible choices, for example, in the current debate on internationalization. For example, in continuing the additional resources that you have been so instrumental in introducing into the system. In continuing important impulse financing, such as the National Growth Funds or the Wetenschapsfonds, the science funds that you've introduced. But more importantly, it's not just continuing impulse funding, but ensuring that we anchor the results structurally and sustainably. You know, we all, as members of this European project, also committed to Europe that we would invest 3% of our GDP in higher education. We're not quite there yet. And I think that's also a message to cabinets to come. These are things that we have to keep doing. Because after all, the education of our young people at all levels is the one thing. There is no such thing, they say, as a sure thing in investment, but there is one, and that's education. There is the only thing that is guaranteed to give you a societal return on investment, and that is education. That is investing in our young people. Thank you. I hadn't quite counted on that, but thank you anyway. And finally, it's about making responsible choices in finding the balance in reforms of the higher education system. And we have to do this in collaboration with all stakeholders, because you heard from Anka this afternoon about the financing of the hogescholen. And the point is that when we talk about financing of our higher education system, you have to think about the entire system. We have to look at it holistically. We cannot start looking at things in bits and pieces and in silos, because it just doesn't work that way. Okay, that was not in the script. And all of this is so that we focus even more on educational quality, on educational equity, on educational diversity, on making sure that the students who are enrolled, who enter our system, are enrolled in the right programs and the right institutions for them. And given our focus as a university, we have a particular interest on stimulating broad science and engineering talent who, by contributing to a stronger cooperation between science, technology, and society — you were in Japan last year at the STS Forum — will have a lasting impact on the great societal transformations that we face. Let's talk about internationalization. Can I get that slide, please? Of course, this is an issue that affects me personally. I have been an international student in the US, and I have been an international scientist and scholar in Germany, in the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands. So it really does affect me. But more importantly, the current discussion on internationalization and language deeply affects the core of our community. Look at this slide. Look at the slide behind me. These are the students whom we welcomed in the cohort beginning today. This is last week's kick-in. They're a diverse and very international group. And like me, about this time, 38 years ago, and I'm dating myself, I know, they've traveled from all over the world to learn from our community and to contribute back to our community. And that is in keeping with our role as an international university, with a border a few kilometers from here, with an entire faculty, ITC, that focuses on capacity building and education internationally. We are an institution that is squarely engaged with our neighbors in Europe, that believes in the European ideal, and indeed with the world. We are international. To be honest, I toyed with the idea of giving 1/3 of my speech in English and 2/3 in Dutch, as our programs may have to do. Maar gezien het feit dat Nederlands mijn 6e taal is, dacht ik ga gewoon niet in steenkolen Nederlands spreken, maar wel in wat betere Engels. So, and I took the chance that having 1/3 of the total program in Dutch, because the minister will speak in Dutch, or maybe not in Dutch, but anyway, for whatever it is, I thought maybe this transition period that it's okay for me to speak the way I speak, and hope to connect both worlds, because we have a lot to offer each other. But anyway, for our international staff and students, the current discussion about internationalization and working and the teaching language, sometimes feels like a blatant disregard or lack of appreciation of what they have to offer to our community and our community at large. To my international colleagues and students, let me just say that I can only reiterate and emphasize how much we value your presence and contributions to our community in all respects. You know, the great challenges of our time, the great challenges that we face are global problems. And neither these problems nor the solutions that contribute to, nor the knowledge actually that contributes to the solutions to these problems respect political or linguistic boundaries. And all of our students and staff, be they Dutch or international, contribute intrinsically with their diverse talents, their abilities, their backgrounds, and lived experiences to the quality of our education and research. Minister, this doesn't mean that we are tone deaf to the signals that we are hearing from politics and society. They are loud and clear. We hear the signals about the downside of internationalization. For example, the lack of accessibility to educational programs facing a capacity crunch, and the lack of housing in some cities. Together with our deans sitting there, we as a board have been very, very clear in communicating to our community openly and transparently that things are very likely going to change. And while we don't know what it's exactly going to look like in the future, we will do everything we can to build on what we have put together over all these years while seeking the right balance. But I must say we also feel that we're being confronted by generic solutions to specific problems, that the problems that are playing out in the Randstad in some cities are affecting us in a way that does not match our daily reality and our location and our character as a university. So, I mean, my plea here is also to say, look, think about the local context. The local contexts differ, and our local context requires maybe a different solution. We're acutely aware of the critical notes from society. And we are acutely aware of the fact that we are here to make an impact on society as institutions. That is, after all, the foundation of what we set out to do, to create impact. I can't think of anything more impactful than educating the future generation. It's why we're here in the center of the city again. It's why we engage with our local and regional partners and stakeholders, and why we strive to be open and accessible. And above all, to train technically skilled talent, students who've been exposed to working in interdisciplinary and diverse teams on meaningful challenges to contribute to making a meaningful impact on the wicked problems that face society. And there is the dilemma. Technical talent with a broad perspective is crucial for the future of the Netherlands and for solutions to the transformations we face. The tech enterprises in the region here and further afield are screaming for talent. In fact, the demand for technically trained talent is such that it requires a giant jump in the scale of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You've, of course, spent many years in the US, the STEM disciplines, in that sort of education. But the reality is that the number of students in our schools at HAVO and VWO who choose an N profile is declining. So we've got work to do. This needs attention for the coming years from schools, universities, and the governments, because it has a sort of follow-on effect. It's a domino effect. So you have fewer students choosing to continue in technical programs in higher education. And it's not just my problem. Anka has the same problem. Yeah? So what do you do? As long as there is a mismatch between the demand for tech talent in the Netherlands and the interests of our youth, we have no option than to look outside our borders. Our study programs are highly regarded abroad, and NUFIC figures show that 40% of engineering graduates are still working in the Netherlands 5 years after graduation. And while we can absolutely work on getting the stay rate up higher, I think it's already a valuable contribution to the task that we face together. And as I said, the problem of technical talent is not only one of the university alone. Yeah? It's a problem felt by my colleagues Anka Mulder and Trudy Vos, chairpersons of Saxion and the ROC from Twente, respectively. They're both sitting here today, front and center. And I'm really proud how we as a university have joined forces with the RSF in Twente and Saxion when it comes to attracting and motivating talent to study engineering. And as we said this afternoon over lunch, this is what we want to focus on. This is where we get energy from. It's a great example of how we work together on the region's challenges. We are setting the region front and center. I started with speaking about the polyphonic UT community, and this collaboration between the three institutions, each with a distinct voice and identity, also leads to a pleasing polyphony in the region. Can I get the next slide? And a perfect example of this teamwork is the Solar Team Twente. And if you look right behind you, Minister, you have Hjalmar and team right there. And Kirsten, I see at least 4 in the T-shirts. But this is a perfect example of teamwork, Solar Team Twente. This is comprised of talent from all 3 of our institutions, from the UT, from Saxion, from the Universiteit van Twente. And they're on their way to Australia, hoping to win that race with this car, Red X. So let's give them a hand and wish them luck. And we don't have the car here, but we got you to sit in the green car, but next time we'll get you to get in the solar car as well. And we obviously also work together with many other partners in the region, such as the business community, and I think alumnus Dennis Schipper from DEMCON and many others are present here today. The municipalities, and I'd like to welcome the Alderman for Education and Deputy Mayor of Enschede, Harmian Vedder, and the Mayor of Hengelo, Sander Schelberg, and we see that the Mayor of Zwolle, Peter Snijders, is also here. We work together with the province of Overijssel and the Twente board. And together what we're doing is we're constantly looking for how we can do better and how we can strengthen each other based on our individual strengths. The growth we have experienced in recent years enables us to increase our societal added value. And we do this not only here in Twente, but also further afield. I mean, we're not just looking, sort of staring at our navels within the few hundred square kilometers. I already talked about our faculty ITC, which is present in Asia and Africa and elsewhere. In Twente, for example, we're working closely with many stakeholders, and in the context and with the support of the Economic Board, the Twente Board. And for example, in the ChipTech Twente program, we're trying to realize specialized production facilities using our expertise and knowledge in the field of chip design and photonics. And in advanced manufacturing, with the support of the Twente board, we'll be officially opening the new facilities for the Fraunhofer Innovation Platform for Advanced Manufacturing and the industrial shop floor, the Advanced Manufacturing Center, on the 10th of October. A bit further afield, together with Saxion again, and a number of public and private parties, we are participating in the Center for Security and Digitalization in Apeldoorn, where we're working on scalable solutions for lifelong learning. It's something that you've also made. It's very clear in the strategies of the cabinet that lifelong learning is going to be very important going in the future. We're working on that. In Zwolle, we're working together with the municipality, and again, I welcome Peter Snijders, the mayor of Zwolle, with the Economic Board in Zwolle and Windesheim. We're looking at the possibilities to work on smart manufacturing and climate adaptation. In the field of medical technology, we have a long-standing partnership with the Radboud University Medical Center. They helped us set up the technical medicine program, and that is intensifying. And of course, we have an alliance with the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. I know a little bit about that alliance. And as a matter of fact, we start today with our second educational program, Creative Technology, at the location of the VU Amsterdam, providing opportunities to technical talent around Amsterdam. There was a huge difference. The province of North Holland, 11% of students would go for technical programs, where the national average was somewhere around 20-21%. This allows for more students in North Holland to actually to choose a technical program. The majority of the first cohort of our first program, mechanical engineering, which I helped to launch in another role, is now continuing their study at the UT in the master phase, showing how this is a win-win situation for our region. And finally, situated as we are on the border with Germany, it's natural for us to have cross-border cooperation. The University of Münster is a strategic partner with whom we're setting up a battery competence center, again together with the Twente board and the economic board in Münster. We're working together with the hospital, the university hospitals in Münster. These developments strengthen Twente and the Eastern Netherlands into an important technological ecosystem. And in the context of the Twente board, we are thereby working together with Brainport, another technological ecosystem, as you might know, to achieve a national technological ecosystem on a European scale. Because you know what? This whole business of trying to be competing amongst each other within this country, it's really worth beans. Yeah? The real competition is in Shanghai, Singapore, in Zurich, in Cambridge, whether it's Cambridge, UK, or Cambridge, Massachusetts, I'll let you take your pick. We need to work together as Dutch institutions, as Dutch ecosystems, because we have a hell of a lot to offer. Only we got to stop, as the Dutch so beautifully say, elkaar de tent uitvechten. Yeah. Your Excellency, as a university, it is our ambition, together with our collaborators in the region and elsewhere, to create the necessary preconditions in terms of talent, innovation, and cooperation to address the transformations in climate, in education, in healthcare, in agriculture, and digitalization that are national priorities that keep you and your colleagues in politics and in the cabinet busy. These ambitions are how we contribute to your foresight exercise, your toekomstverkenning launched by your ministry. But Your Excellency, small steps are not enough. You know, I mean, I've heard the moonshot and Apollo mission being called upon quite a lot in the last few weeks. And if I may, this requires a giant leap across the Eastern Netherlands that we, as partners in this ecosystem, and I'm looking at my colleagues from Saxion and ROC, but there's also lots of other people around here, the municipalities, the businesses, who are in this journey together. We are keen to make this step as a team together with our partners for mankind. And as with the Apollo missions, it also requires explicit support and commitment from politics and society. You know all the reports, Minister. You know, elke regio telt. There's the kennis, the kansenagenda from the Raad voor de Leefomgeving en Infrastructuur, de Raad voor Volksgezondheid en Samenleving, and the Raad voor de Openbaar Bestuur. These all offer fantastic starting points, but we're already doing it. And that's where you and your colleagues come in, Excellency. Give us the room to experiment and the boundary conditions to make it happen. Recognize that local contexts differ. Recognize the strength and the potential that we have here in the region. Help us make our dreams fly. Your Excellency, may I now invite you to come up to the podium and share your vision and dreams with us.
Beste mensen, wat een voorrecht om hier te mogen staan. In dit prachtige theater, op deze zonnige dag. En het is een spannende tijd. We staan op de drempel van een nieuw academisch jaar, maar we staan ook op de drempel van een nieuwe tijd. Midden in een van de grootste omwentelingen van ons land en van de wereld. Alles, maar dan ook alles wordt anders. De klimaatcrisis, de energietransitie, nieuwe technologieën als AI veranderen ons leven radicaal. Eigenlijk alles wat je ziet, zal op een andere manier geproduceerd, vervoerd, geteeld en bedacht moeten worden. En dat gaat allemaal nog eens razendsnel. Dat maakt 2023 een opwindende tijd voor wie studeert, onderzoekt of bijleert. We zien vandaag de glimpen van de wereld van morgen. Maar kan onze samenleving zulke snelle overgangen wel aan? Ik heb daar alle vertrouwen in. Enschede heeft in het verleden laten zien dat grootschalig veranderen niet alleen mogelijk is, maar ook een betere wereld kan brengen. De stad die dreef op de kurk van de textielindustrie vond zichzelf uit. Oude industrie sublimeerde naar high-tech. Van katoen en linnen naar kwantum en lasers. Kennis werd de nieuwe kurk. Voor de veranderingen die we nu meemaken, hebben we de beste denkers en doeners nodig. En vandaag heb ik ze ontmoet, tijdens een tour langs de hele waaier van het onderwijs. Het was nog fris toen ik vanochtend een nieuw ROC opende. 2 instellingen gaan samen verder als Verda, een sterke spil voor Friesland en de Noordoostpolder. En vandaag kwam ik aan in Enschede, waar ik verschillende studenten en docenten heb ontmoet. Ik begon met HBO-studenten. Tijdens hun allereerste les sprak ik met PABO-studenten over de magie van het doorgeven van kennis aan de volgende generatie. En er zaten er een paar prachtige ambassadeurs voor het leraarschap bij. Ik zou zeggen, koester ze. En ik zag ook hoe studenten van hogeschool en universiteit samenwerken aan die snelle waterstofracewagen. En ik kijk er naar uit om in die zonnecelauto te gaan zitten. Het was trouwens best krap in die waterstofauto. En de laatste halte vandaag bent u. En dank u wel voor het warme ontvangst, voor de grote opkomst in het prachtige theater en voor dat mooie cortège van zojuist, dat heel symbolisch langs kroeg, kerk en koopjeshal trok. De Universiteit Twente staat midden in de samenleving. Hartelijk dank zeg ik ook aan de voorzitter van het college van bestuur, aan Vinod Subramanian. Vinod, ook u staat midden in de samenleving. De afgelopen jaren heeft u zich er ook persoonlijk sterk voor gemaakt dat hoger onderwijs en onderzoek zich echt openstelt voor alle talent, ongeacht afkomst, aard of kleur. Die polyfonie die u net noemde. Ik zag vandaag een generatie jonge mensen die heel goed aanvoelt waar we naartoe gaan. Die van nature de samenwerking zoekt en die de beloftes van nieuwe technologie omarmt en toepast. Zo'n beloftevolle blik op de toekomst gun ik iedereen. Het is voor mij, en ik hoop ook voor u, een bruistablet tegen het chagrijn dat zich op zoveel plekken in onze maatschappij heeft genesteld. In de mini-samenleving van het klaslokaal en de collegezaal is de toekomst al zichtbaar. Sterker nog, het onderwijs maakt de toekomst. In een wereld waar bijna alles, de polarisatie en de ongelijkheid, lijkt te vergroten, van bankencrisis tot pandemie, is het onderwijs een zeldzame plek waar mensen elkaar leren begrijpen en de onderlinge verschillen verkleinen. Die positieve krachten moeten we koesteren. Elke euro die de samenleving besteedt aan onderwijs en onderzoek is daarom een investering in haar eigen toekomst. Dit kabinet heeft miljarden beschikbaar gesteld in de volle lengte en breedte van het onderwijs. Voor hogere kwaliteit, voor meer samenhang tussen de instellingen en de regio, voor meer rust en ruimte voor studenten, docenten en onderzoekers. En er is een miljardenfonds voor onderzoek en wetenschap gerealiseerd. Die investeringen renderen nu al. Kijk naar de jonge docenten die dit jaar met startersbeurzen de vrijheid hebben gekregen hun onderzoek zelf vorm te geven. Vandaag werden ook mooie cijfers bekend over het stijgend aantal vaste contracten op de universiteiten. We liggen op koers om ons doel te halen van 1200 extra vaste banen in de universitaire wereld. Het meest zichtbaar deel is dat studenten vanaf dit studiejaar weer recht hebben op een basisbeurs. Die hebben ze massaal aangevraagd en terecht. Het is een steun in de rug, het is een verlichting van hun zorgen, waardoor studenten zich beter kunnen concentreren op hun studie en de waardevolle zelfontplooiing. De investeringen van dit kabinet waren hard nodig. Langjarig achterstallig onderhoud had ons land op achterstand gezet. En we zitten nog midden in de reparatiefase, maar kunnen ook weer vooruitkijken. En dat doen we terwijl ook de politiek aan de vooravond van een nieuw begin staat. Dus ik denk het is het moment om te kijken hoe we die vitale organen van de samenleving, onderwijs en onderzoek en innovatie, gezond kunnen houden. Zodat we klaar zijn voor de veranderingen wanneer die over elkaar heen buitelen. En vandaag wil ik met u op 3 punten bekijken hoe we ons beter kunnen voorbereiden op de toekomst. Allereerst hoe we de samenwerking binnen Nederland-Kennisland kunnen versterken. Vervolgens hoe we al het talent kunnen ontwikkelen en zijn bestemming laten vinden. En tenslotte welke duurzame vaardigheden ons hoop en optimisme bieden. Allereerst dus de samenwerking binnen ons kennisland. En uw voorzitter heeft er al mooie woorden over gesproken. Het uitgangspunt van Nederland is geweldig. We zijn een belangrijk kennisknooppunt in Europa en de wereld. Compact en goed georganiseerd, met een cultuur die van nature gericht is op samenwerking. Hebben we een strategische voorsprong op vele andere landen. Die positie heeft ons veel gebracht. Een concurrerende kenniseconomie met bedrijven en universiteiten waar de hele wereld graag langskomt. Onze kennis verkoopt zichzelf ook. Onze kracht zit in onze samenhang. 1,5 eeuw geleden stonden hier in Enschede duizenden weefgetouwen. De schering waren de draden die in de lengte werden gespannen. De inslag, de draden die daar met een schietspoel van links naar rechts en weer terug tussendoor werden geweven. Het weefsel ontleent zijn kracht aan de kwaliteit van elke draad afzonderlijk, maar nog meer van de verbinding tussen die draden. En zo is het ook met Nederland als kennisland. We kunnen het weefsel zowel in de lengte als de breedte verstevigen. Met de lengte doel ik hier op de draden die de verschillende onderwijsvormen, mbo, hbo, wo, met elkaar en de bedrijven en de maatschappelijke organisaties in de regio verbinden. Het Twentse Noorbuurschap brengt onderwijs en onderzoek, economische ontwikkeling dichter bij elkaar. We zagen al een paar prachtige voorbeelden, ik heb ze vandaag ook gezien. Maar ik denk ook aan een mooi initiatief als Enschede Lab, waar studenten van de UT, Saxion, ROC van Twente en Artes Aki samenwerken aan maatschappelijke vraagstukken. De grote winst van al dit soort initiatieven, waarin u koploper bent, verschillende talenten samenkomen. Makers, denkers, verbinders verleggen samen hun grenzen. Er liggen grote kansen om de schering nog sterker te maken in Nederland. En tegen regio's zeg ik daarom, ga nog meer uit van je eigen karakter en profileer je daar ook mee. Elke regio heeft zijn eigen behoeftes en zijn eigen sterktes. Geef elke onderwijsvorm in die waaier een duidelijke kleur. Geen grauwe mix, maar complementaire kleuren die elkaar laten stralen. Ja, een beetje als die kleurenwaaier uit de verfwinkel. Het mbo dat midden in de samenleving, in het bedrijfsleven staat. Het hbo dat opleidt tot een breder en dieper begrip van beroepen en die verder doorontwikkelt. En de universiteit die de grenzen van kennis steeds weer verlegt. Maar niet alleen in de lengte, ook in de breedte weten instellingen elkaar steeds beter te vinden in landelijke samenwerking binnen een onderwijsvorm. Een mooi voorbeeld van deze inslag zijn de sectorplannen waarin dit kabinet fors heeft geïnvesteerd. 200 miljoen structureel. In alle wetenschapsgebieden hebben universiteiten met elkaar scherpe afspraken gemaakt waar ze samenwerken en waar ze hun eigen rol pakken. Want wat in Twente gebeurt, hoeft niet per se ook in Delft te gebeuren. Hechte samenwerking geeft je juist de vrijheid om je eigen profiel te versterken. Elke universiteit kan je dan zien als een soort campus van een virtuele universiteit van Nederland. U weet misschien, ik ben geen grote fan van rankings, maar voor het waard is, stond Nederland vorig jaar op de 7e plaats qua aantal toponderzoekers. En vele daarvan hier in Twente. Ruim boven Frankrijk. En Duitsland had er maar 50% meer. Toegegeven, Harvard had er ongeveer evenveel als wij. Maar als je het zo bekijkt, kan onze virtuele Universiteit van Nederland iedere topuniversiteit van de wereld aan. Als we zowel de schering als de inslag van ons kennisland weten te versterken, dan zullen de regio's daarvan profiteren. Met een eigen profiel in dat landelijke spinsel. Het fantastische high-tech ecosysteem in Twente kan dan bijvoorbeeld echt een knooppunt worden voor fotonische chips. Veel sneller en zuiniger dan de elektronische varianten. En overheid en bedrijfsleven investeren hier al in. Laten we niet vergeten dat Nederland zelf ook een regio is. Maar dan een regio binnen Europa. De Nederlandse wetenschap had geen ander belang bij verregaande Europese samenwerking. In het Horizon Europe-programma behoren Nederlandse onderzoekers tot de succesvolste. En samen met de hogescholen gaan we ervoor zorgen dat ook zij de weg naar Europese programma's beter kunnen vinden. Het succes van Europa in de mondiale kenniswedstrijd bestaat juist uit instellingen die nauw samenwerken met een levendige uitwisseling van studenten, docenten en onderzoekers. En u hoort mij goed, hier in dit muziektheater van Enschede zing ik de lof van internationalisering. Het is een groot compliment dat zoveel mensen in Nederland willen studeren en doceren. We zijn een academische topbestemming. Misschien wel de nummer 1 topbestemming in Europa. Dat zegt veel over de kwaliteit van het Nederlands onderwijs en onderzoek. We hebben dat internationale talent ook heel hard nodig. Zeker voor onze strategische groeisectoren, zoals de techniek. So a warm welcome to our international students. We are proud that you chose the Netherlands as your academic destination. Students and also faculty. In fact, we love you so much that we want to keep you here. Tegelijk zien we ook op sommige plaatsen, maar niet overal, de schaduwkanten van het succes. Overvolle collegezalen, tekort aan docenten en gebrek aan studentenhuisvesting. We moeten dus op een slimme manier de toegankelijkheid en de hoge kwaliteit van ons stelsel behouden en tegelijkertijd ook de Nederlandse taal koesteren en bevorderen en alle voordelen van internationalisering. En ook het internationale talent beter vast te houden voor onze arbeidsmarkt. We hebben daarom naast een gaspedaal ook een rem en vooral een stuur nodig om internationalisering in balans te brengen. En niet elke instelling heeft dezelfde noden. Daar sprak u heel eloquent over. Het maakt uit als het buitenland op 10 kilometer afstand ligt. Het maakt uit als je een sector bent waar we grote tekorten hebben in Nederland. En daarom hoop ik dat de Kamer het wetsvoorstel dat er nu in internetconsultatie ligt, niet controversieel verklaart dat we snel kunnen beginnen met de benodigde instrumenten en sturing. Laat ik een paar dingen nog toelichten. In het wetsvoorstel wordt veel beter beschreven waarom het verstandig is om opleidingen in het Engels te doen. Daar wordt precies de regio genoemd. Daar worden de internationale arbeidsmarkt genoemd. Daar worden de arbeidsmarkttekortsectoren als techniek die van strategisch belang van Nederland zijn genoemd. En laat ik nog een ander ding wegnemen. Wat er ook in staat, dat zelfs als je het in Nederlands geeft, dan is het wat mij betreft ook goed om daarvan nog 1/3 in het Engels te doen. Dus dat idee dat maar 1/3 van de opleidingen in het Engels mag, moeten we nu eens en voor altijd, die meme moeten we eens en voor altijd proberen uit te sluiten. Ik kom bij het volgende verbeterpunt. Hoe geven we elk uniek talent gelijke mogelijkheden om zichzelf te ontwikkelen? We hebben het niet altijd door, maar we denken, spreken en handelen nog te vaak in termen van hoog en laag. Terwijl alle verschillende vormen van kennis en scholing gelijke waardering en ondersteuning verdienen. U weet, ik spreek graag over die waaier. En ik heb een paar prachtige waaiers nu in mijn werkkamer staan op de Hoftoren. Net zoals de rijkdom aan talenten in onze samenleving zich steeds verder uitvouwt. Iedereen moet zich binnen die waaier maximaal kunnen ontwikkelen, waarbij het unieke, persoonlijke talent de richting bepaalt. Want heeft niet iedereen het principiële, fundamentele mensenrecht de beste versie van zichzelf te worden. De geschiedenis van het onderwijs kun je lezen als één permanente onderschatting van het potentieel in de samenleving. Als een slordige omgang met mensen. 150 jaar terug had minder dan 1% van de bevolking een middelbaar schooldiploma. Maar 1 op de 1000 volgde een wetenschappelijke opleiding. Was je vrouw, behoorde je niet tot de juiste sociale klasse, woonde je niet in een stad, dan waren je kansen op scholing ongeveer verkeken. De berm van de onderwijsgeschiedenis ligt vol lage verwachtingen en halve oplossingen. En het zou naïef zijn om te denken dat onze tijd daarop een uitzondering vormt. Daar moeten we onze koudwatervrees overwinnen. Ons geloof in de kracht van het onderwijs radicaal durven doortrekken. Slordig met mensen omgaan is niet alleen een fundamenteel onrecht, we kunnen het ons ook niet langer veroorloven. Er zijn meer banen dan mensen. En de onbalans wordt alleen maar groter. We hebben ieder talent keihard nodig. Voor onze welvaart, voor de energietransitie, voor het onderwijs, voor de zorg en al die andere plekken die kampen met grote structurele tekorten. Een verdere emancipatie van het beroepsonderwijs, zowel mbo als hbo, is daarvoor essentieel. Dat begint met het besef dat we deze vorm van onderwijs en hun studenten en docenten stelselmatig hebben ondergewaardeerd. In ons spreken in termen van lager en hoger, maar ook in een zekere desinteresse vanuit de academie voor de unieke kracht van het beroepsonderwijs. U laat het iedere dag zien, samenleven is een teamsport. Gelukkig zien we dingen veranderen en we hebben al veel bereikt. De terugkeer van de basisbeurs is een eerste stap om studenten een hele waaier gelijke condities te geven. En we hebben hard gewerkt om die condities ook gelijk te trekken. In alle vormen van vervolgonderwijs is gericht geïnvesteerd om de kwaliteit te verbeteren. En één voorbeeld, de landelijke onderwijspremie, is dit jaar voor het eerst ook opengesteld voor professionals op het mbo. En wat is het mooi om die waaier aan vernieuwers samen op het podium te zien glunderen. Maar trouwens ook een UT-team. Onderschat ook niet wat het betekent voor mbo-studenten dat ze in steeds meer steden eindelijk mee mogen doen met het introductieprogramma voor eerstejaars. We zijn gestart met het Professional Doctorate en het hbo, om nog verdere verdieping mogelijk te maken. En ik wil ook graag de snelst groeiende onderwijsvorm noemen, de Associate Degree. Ik zag een paar prachtige voorbeelden vanmiddag als eigenstandige stap tussen hbo en mbo bachelor in. En toch zijn er nog steeds verschillen die niet goed uit te leggen zijn. Die gaan over studiefinanciering, die gaan over schoolkosten of over kroegen en sportverenigingen waar niet iedereen welkom is. Als we de waaier consequent willen doortrekken, is er nog veel te doen. In alle soorten vervolgonderwijs is er nog te veel uitval. Dreig je buiten de boot te vallen als student? Of merk je dat je in het verkeerde bootje zit? Dan moet er iemand zijn die je binnenboord trekt. Of je naar een andere, betere bestemming loodst. Veel jongeren voelen sociale druk om naar de universiteit te gaan, maar komen veel beter tot hun recht op het hbo of het mbo. Een goede gids kan je helpen om het nieuwe perspectief voor jouw talent te zien. En daarvoor moeten we ook lastige keuzes maken. Individuele vrijheid om te kiezen wat je wilt studeren is een groot goed. Net als de vrijheid van onderwijs en academische vrijheid. Maar we willen ook dat jongeren kansrijk onderwijs volgen. Waarmee ze een baan kunnen vinden met perspectief. Niemand wil een doodlopende weg in worden gestuurd. En die waaier kent principieel geen begin of einde. Vaak zie je bij de allerjongste kinderen al of ze praktisch, creatief, sociaal, cognitief of juist ondernemend zijn ingesteld. Toch meten we succes vrijwel uitsluitend af aan cognitieve vaardigheden. Die hebben hogere status, die zijn gemakkelijker te meten en te toetsen. Dat is kwalijk. Geen talent mag negatief benaderd worden. Hoe mooi zou het zijn als ieder schooladvies positief beleefd wordt. Als niemand afvalt en ieders talent op zijn plaats valt. En de waaier eindigt ook niet na je opleiding, want veel kennis en vaardigheden verouderen snel. Als je alles weet van de benzinemotor, hoe lang kan je nog vooruit? Nou, we hebben het hier gezien, met een waterstof- en een zonnemotor. Of wat als AI binnenkort je kantoorvaardigheden overneemt, hele goede PowerPoints maakt. Een studiepad hoeft ook niet een aaneengesloten lijn te zijn. Het kan ook een stippenlijn zijn. En iedereen heeft om de zoveel tijd een kennisupdate nodig. En nieuwe opties om je eigen weg te vinden. Daar kunt iedereen, WO, HBO en MBO, hun kracht tonen. En laat ik nog een andere radicale suggestie doen. Waarom hebben MBO-studenten, anders dan HBO- en WO-studenten, het behalen van een diploma geen mogelijkheden om hun expertise verder te ontwikkelen binnen het MBO? Wat betreft dat is het interessant dat in Noorwegen men praktisch onderwijs wil gelijktrekken met theoretisch onderwijs. Jezelf na je reguliere diploma zo ver mogelijk in je vak bekwamen tot een meestertitel hebt behaald. Ik hoef een Enschede toch niet uit te leggen dat vakmanschap meesterschap is. Mijn derde verbeterpunt gaat over de grenzen in onszelf. Het zit bij de mens ingebakken om die op te zoeken en te verleggen. Dat zie je al bij een jong kind. Aldoende leert het in het eerste levensjaar de elementaire wetten van de natuurkunde. Mechanica, zwaartekracht. Of zet maar eens een bordje verboden toegang bij een hek en kijk waar kinderen samenscholen. Het onbekende is onweerstaanbaar aantrekkelijk. Iedere volwassene kan ook de eigen grenzen blijven opzoeken. Een timmerman net zo goed als een promovendus of een verpleegkundige. Dus hoe stimuleren we onszelf en elkaar om die stap over die grens te zetten en de ons aangeleerde veilige kaders te verlaten? De menselijke geest heeft de unieke gave iets te kunnen bedenken wat er niet eerder is geweest. Iets uit niets maken. Dat kan alleen creativiteit. Een superkracht waarover elke mens beschikt. Met creativiteitsschil in aquarel ontwerp je een computerchip, bedenk je een behandeling voor een patiënt of een nieuwe dienst voor je bedrijf. Creativiteit gaat ook over omgaan met veranderingen. Je betreedt een nieuwe wereld in je eigen hoofd. Iedereen die ooit door een verandering is heen gegaan, heeft geleerd om te gaan met de schok van het onbekende, met onverwachte tegenslag en misschien ook onverwacht succes. De kunst deze zigzagpaden te bewandelen gaat een leven lang mee. Zulke positieve krachten moeten nog meer stimuleren in het onderwijs. Creatief zijn, weerbaar en veerkracht ontwikkelen, omgaan met onzekerheid en stress, samenwerken met iedereen, hoe verschillend ook. Deze algemene vaardigheden zullen in de toekomst meer en meer waarde krijgen. Anders dan vakinhoudelijke kennis verouderen ze niet. En ze helpen je ook door de roetsbaan van het leven. Daar kan geen chatbot tegenop. De laatste versie van GTP heeft alles gelezen wat er ooit is geschreven. Zo'n biljoen woorden. Gewoon mens zou er 20.000 jaar over doen dit te lezen. Die kracht van die nieuwe machines verbaast iedereen. Onderzoekers spreken zelfs van de eerste sprankjes van kunstmatige algemene intelligentie. Maar weet u, een kind leert van een enkele ervaring, zonder een woord te hebben gelezen. De grote les van vele decennia AI-onderzoek geldt nog steeds. Wat moeilijk is voor de mens, is vaak gemakkelijk voor de computer. Maar ook omgekeerd. Wat gemakkelijk is voor de mens, is vaak moeilijk voor de computer. En dat dankzij die diep menselijke krachten van verbeelding en nieuwsgierigheid, van souplesse in denken en aanpassingsvermogen. Softe skills, die eigenlijk keihard zijn. Ze verdienen een stevige plek in ons onderwijs, misschien wel in het vak burgerschap, want ze zijn de diepste bron van hoop en optimisme. Ze laten ons over onze eigen grenzen springen naar een volgend niveau. Uiteindelijk bepalen ze individueel of collectief of we die rollercoaster van de toekomst aankomen. Beste mensen, Twente bewijst dat verbetering mogelijk is op alle 3 mijn punten. U laat het kennisweefsel versterken langs schering en inslag. En ieder talent in de waaier maximaal ontplooien. En u ontwikkelt de vaardigheden van de toekomst. Heel Nederland kan op al deze punten sterker worden. Daarvoor heeft dit kabinet de basis nu hersteld. De zaadjes zijn gezaaid, de potgrond is bewaterd. En ik ben er trots op dat we dit met elkaar in korte tijd voor elkaar hebben gekregen. Maar het is nu wel de kunst deze kiemen te laten groeien. Ik weet, ze zijn bij u in goede handen. Het is nu aan Den Haag om die broodnodige investeringen in het leven van jonge mensen te waarborgen en daarmee onze toekomst ongestoord tot bloei te laten komen. Alleen zo kan Nederland in de voorhoede blijven van onderwijs, wetenschap en innovatie. Anders stroomt het talent naar plekken waar het beter tot zijn recht komt. Dan ontrafelt het weefsel van ons kennisland en ontnemen we de volgende generatie haar kansen. Ik zei al, Nederland is wereldkampioen samenwerken. Aan zoveel tafels vragen we van mensen dat ze er samen uitkomen. Daarom ben ik ook zo diep teleurgesteld dat het binnen het kabinet niet is gelukt. Ook de val van het kabinet is slordig omgaan met jonge mensen. Als docent en als ouder weet ik heel goed dat het er niet om gaat wat je zegt, maar wat je doet. We hebben gewoon niet het goede voorbeeld gegeven. Beste allen, aan het begin van dit nieuwe academische jaar is goed te realiseren dat ook de rol van de minister zeer beperkt is. De essayist Rudy Kousbroek schreef eens dat sommigen denken dat het geluid van het fluitje van de conducteur de kracht is die de trein in beweging brengt. Die locomotief van de vooruitgang bent u gelukkig nog steeds zelf. Die kracht wordt dagelijks opgewekt in de praktijk van onderwijs en onderzoek, in collegezalen en laboratoria, in werkplaatsen en studeerkamers. Gaat u vooral moedig verder. Dank u wel en goede reis.
Hier 1 minuut te blijven.
Ja.
Dank u. Ja. Minister, dank u wel. Ik moet eerlijk zeggen, ja, ik ben een last-minute schrijver, dus wij hebben onze speeches niet afgestemd. Maar ze lijken wel degelijk wel naadloos op elkaar te sluiten.
Great minds.
Great minds. I wasn't going to say that. But it's really true, because I think you really addressed pretty much every point that I made. And I hope I did give you a message, and actually not you. I gave, I think, the Parliament a message and your colleagues a message. Look, keep investing, but you're doing the same. And I really do hope that the Parliament listens and doesn't, make things controversial that are not controversial, and that we really need to invest in, and to continue to keep investing in the one thing that is guaranteed to give us a return on investment, and that's the young people of this country. Thank you very much. But before you go, you talked about a rise, a journey. And, that brings to mind a poem that I like, and that's by the great Greek poet Constantine Cavafy. And he says, as you set out for Ithaca, hope your journey is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery. And you're going to make a trip back to The Hague, and you can't go without, of course, something from us. And I thought it would be appropriate that you have a hoodie from the University of Twente, and that you are a proud, you proudly wear the stripes of this region and the power that we represent from this region. So thank you very much for your contribution to our opening, and I wish you well, sir.
Thank you.
So we're, of course, hopelessly behind schedule, but that's what happens on openings in DSs, and that's okay. But this is food for thought. Yeah, and as it wasn't a joke. We hadn't. I really wrote my speech this weekend, and so did he. And so I think great minds, as they say. Anyway, we now continue to recognize some of the other exceptional talent at our university. And this part will be hosted by the person who's responsible for research and education and talent, and that is our very own Rector Magnificus, Tom Veldkamp. And Tom, may I invite you on the stage to sort of take over the mastering of ceremonies, as they say. All right.
Yes, from two sweeping speeches to a more inward-looking perspective. But that's also part of being together and celebrating our talents. And like every year, we recognize not only our students, but also our former students and in specific domains. And even we celebrate our Teacher of the Year. So let's start first with what we call the TGS Award. That's actually a recognition where somebody gets a full PhD position. In this case, the person who won it, and we will see her in the movie, so Jana Lin, she's not here. She's with her family in Singapore. But let's first watch the movie and then recognize her celebration. Thank you.
My name is Yana, and I come from Singapore. My PhD research will be focusing on predicting where and when landslides and flooding will happen. So the idea is because landslides and flooding tend to occur simultaneously in time. So we thought that it would be an interesting idea to actually be able to predict these two hazards since they cause a lot of damage to society. The idea is actually to apply tools that were originally developed for speech recognition into doing so. So these two hazards are normally brought about by continuous rainfall over a period of time. And so we can interpret this rainfall kind of as a signal, just like kind of how we talk to Siri or Google, like we give it a command. Our voice is like a signal that varies as well with tones, as well as maybe like the way words are being said. And so this rainfall signal is essentially that of our voice. So we feed it into a neural network that interprets it the same way, and then it can differentiate between the kind of rainfall sequences that may lead to flooding or may not lead to flooding or landslides. I don't have anything very concrete, but I do have visions for what I do want to achieve. So the first of which is, I have a very firm belief that science should benefit society at large. And this is exactly what I want to achieve with my research. I know it's a very ambitious, big dream, but I want to be able to do something, to create something with my two hands and my brain, such that it can help someone or somebody out there. And I think the second thing that I really want to be able to do is, I've only been able to get this far, to get this award, only because I had a lot of people supporting me and teaching me along the way. And I hope to be able to extend that sort of kindness to someone someday.
Hello Jana, congratulations, you have won this year's TGS Award. Your innovative research on predicting landslides and flooding has truly impressed the jury. Therefore, you will receive a full-paid PhD position that will allow you to pursue your dream. Again, congratulations, and I wish you all the best in your future.
Applause. Yeah, I think this is a very nice example of a, let's say, very inspirational but creative idea to use speed recognition algorithms actually to make predictions about rainfall-induced landslides. I mean, that's a leap that I think an AI would never make. So it's an example of the speech we had before. Now, thinking about more creative processes, I think it's time for the musical interlude. Unfortunately, we had only yesterday we had a last-minute cancellation, so we had to come up with a replacement. And fortunately, Frank Bouwmeester was willing and able also to stand in and actually sing two songs to us. He's a UT alumnus, and he's a singer of the famous UT band, the Bartenders Reunion. And I think they have already been together for 37 years, I believe. So we'd like to invite him on stage and enjoy us with his songs. Frank Bouwmeester.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here, even if you're last minute invited yesterday afternoon. It looks like the old generation has to fix it again. Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm going to sing two songs that I wrote. I'm going to sing them in Dutch. But yesterday I translated my Dutch words in English, which is quite awkward because then when you read your own songs back in English, they seem quite childish. So you'll be warned for that. The first song that I'm going to sing, I wrote about 30 years ago. There was a pub in the city center. The cortege passed through this afternoon. It was the pub The Hangover. It the Kater. It existed for 15 years then, and right now they are existing 45 years. So this song has evolved as a sort of song of praise, a hymn for the city center here, and especially the Oude Markt, the Old Market. So it's called the Oude Markt in Enschede. Ik ontmoette hier mijn liefste lief. Ze vroeg een sigaret. Nu rookt ze al 10 jaar niet meer en slaapt nog steeds bij mij in bed. De sfeer, het licht, de geur, de kleur. Ik voel me daar zo thuis. Dit was mijn stamcafé. Ik ben er nog steeds kind aan huis. Geen Leidseplein in Amsterdam, of plein dat in het Haagse ligt. Geen grote markt in Groningen, niet het Vrijthof in Maastricht. Nee, nergens voel ik mij zo thuis als in dat prachtige café. Ik kom er elke keer weer terug, de Oude Markt in Enschede. Na een jaar of wat zei zij me dat ze weer alleen wou zijn. Ze liet me alleen achter, oh God, wat deed dat pijn. Van tussenpaus naar tussenpaus, maar echt geluk was er niet bij. Totdat ik haar weer op de Oude Markt zag en zij weer viel voor mij. Geen Leidseplein in Amsterdam, of plein dat in het Haagse ligt. Geen grote markt in Groningen, of het Friedhof in Maastricht. Nee, nergens voel ik mij zo thuis als in dat prachtige café. Ik kom er elke keer weer terug, de Oude Markt in Enschede. Op zaterdag strijkt mijn gezin soms in dat kroegje neer. Mijn zoontje vraagt dan chocomel aan mij, zijn ouwe heer. Zijn moeder wil een zure bom, zijn vader neemt een bier. Nu zijn we nog met 3 man sterk en volgend jaar met 4. Geen Leidseplein in Amsterdam, of plein dat in het Haagse ligt. Geen grote markt in Groningen, of het Friedhof in Maastricht. Nee, nergens voel ik mij zo thuis als in dat prachtige café. Ik kom er elke keer weer terug, de Oude Markt in Enschede. Nee, nee, nergens voel ik mij zo thuis als in dat prachtige café. Ik kom er elke keer weer terug, de Oude Markt in Enschede. Wow. Thank you very much. Sitting here is like standing on holy ground. I've sit for about 100 times in the audience, and this is my first time on this stage. So, thanks again for the invitation yesterday evening, and thanks to my employer, the municipality of Enschede, to lend me out for 2 hours here. So, okay, I'm going to sing my last song, and it's a song I wrote 23 years ago in the year of 2000. Next week, me and my wife, we are married for 23 years, and I wrote this song for that day, which was a surprise for her. So this is called The Miracle of We, oftewel het wonder van wij. Als de ochtend weer een eind maakt aan een veel te korte nacht en je mij dan zijlings aankijkt, geef ik jou mijn lieve lach. Nog even zoek je dan mijn warmte, nog even dicht tegen me aan. Dan is uit bed gaan minder moeilijk, want dit geeft zin aan ons bestaan. Dat is het wonder van jou, het wonder van mij, het wonder van wij. En als je aangeeft dat je boos bent, of als ik jou niet aardig vind, dan is het vaak maar even zoeken naar datgene dat ons bindt. Dat is het wonder van jou, het wonder van mij, het wonder van jou en mij, het wonder van wij. De natuur achter ons huis, die stroom groeit dwars door muren heen. En onze liefde heeft diezelfde kracht van water op steen. Je raakt me niet meer kwijt, we gaan door met onze mooie tijd. Dat is het wonder van jou, het wonder van mij, het wonder van jou en mij, het wonder van wij. Dat is het wonder van jou, het wonder van mij, het wonder van jou en mij, het wonder van wij, het wonder van wij, het wonder van wij. Dank u wel, dank u wel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. This is the more local Enschede scene, but I think it's very supporting the whole celebration today. But let's now move more to a celebration, so another recognition, and that's the Van den Kronenberg Award. So Van den Kronenberg was one of my predecessors, and he actually coined the phrase of the University of Twente, the most entrepreneurial university, de ondernemende universiteit. And so we have this prize where we actually recognize one of our alumni for having a very successful company. So let's have a look at the video.
My name is Merel Boers. I studied technical medicine at the University of Twente in Enschede. Currently my function is the CEO of Nicolab. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. And with Nicolab we're on a clear mission, and that is to battling the immense and growing problem of 40% of the patients not getting the acute treatment they need in time. So my interest in patients suffering strokes and how to solve it already originated from actually my time at the University of Twente. During those days I had to pick a subject to study and also to really pick one of the master thesis subjects to follow up on. So that is actually when I start working on that subject. And quickly I discovered that actually with technology you can make a huge impact in there. If you're faster, if you can help them pick up patients better, it immediately leads to a better quality of life. We use an advanced platform that is actually helping to battle this solution, and we're using artificial intelligence together with workflow solutions to decrease the burden for physicians, and it helps the physicians to quickly identify the patients who are suffering from a stroke and also guides them into picking the right treatment. So it's a software solution, it's fully cloud-based and easy to implement in any hospital that we have around. When I heard that I won the Van de Kronenberg Prize, I was actually on holidays in Spain. I just came back from a mountain bike trip and sat near my tent, and then I received a phone call and heard the great news that I was awarded a prize, especially knowing some of the people who won it in the past and the companies that they work with. And for me, this was always something to look up to, right? So now to have my name added to that list is for me a really proud moment. So my dream for the future is really to battle this growing pressure that we see on the healthcare system. We see an aging population, we have more and more pressure on physicians, and I see technology as one of the key aspects to lower that burden. With the company right now, we're focusing on stroke, but we want to bring this more global and do this for every disease that we see in a hospital.
Hi Merel, we have just seen that your company Nicolab developed Stroke Viewer, an AI solution to better and quicker diagnose patients with stroke. It was built on an attractive proposition for hospitals and picked up quickly by a large part of the market. As a result, Nicolab has grown strongly over the past 2 years and now entered a steady phase. You have shown convincingly that modern technological solutions like Stroke Viewer can contribute to a better and affordable healthcare. This makes you the well-deserved winner of the Van de Kronenberg Award 2023 for Young Entrepreneurship. It's my pleasure to hand out to you, on behalf of the University Fund of the University of Twente, this cheque of €4,500 and this beautiful sculpture by Mohanna van de Kronenberg. Merel, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations, Neil. We will invite you on stage later on. But it's good to see this is an example where AI does better than humans, but also important that you actually managed to not only start up a company, but we talked a little bit, you are now already in the scaling up phase, already setting up departments even in the US. I think that's the most challenging. Starting a company is nice, but getting it rolling and getting profit, but then scaling it up, that's the biggest challenge new and young entrepreneurs always face. So congratulations. But before we move on, I would also like to recognize Mrs. van den Kronenberg. She's actually here with her daughters. We really thank you for being here again when we award the Van den Kronenberg Award and for your strong support for the award. Thank you for being here. Yeah, that brings us then to the Education Award winner, or you could say the Teacher of the Year. This time we don't have a movie. We actually will invite people on stage, not only the winner, but also the chairman of the jury, who actually made the final decision. But for you to understand, it's actually a whole procedure where first the students nominate potential teachers, then the teachers are invited to write a motivation letter, then some of them are selected to give a lecture, and then there is this jury actually who selects the Teacher of the Year. So it's a whole step procedure with a lot of influence and also decision-making power by our students. So I would like to invite the winner, Heidi Toivonen, on the stage, and also the chair of the jury, Rick Ruitenbeek. Please join us.
Well, thank you very much, and also thank you, Tom, for giving the words.
Thank you.
Yes, of course it's important to appreciate education, as it for students really means like a good foundation to start a career life and get successful in the rest of your life. But from my experience when starting as a student, I did not really appreciate how much it means to get help in this whole thing. I mean, you're not alone, and of course we have great teachers like Heidi, for example, to go that extra step to help you through this whole journey of learning a lot. And yeah, maybe thanks to them, we'll all get successful later. So Heidi, congratulations on winning the Educational Award.
Thank you.
First of all, how do you prepare all of your education to truly help the students?
Okay, that's a very big question. The obvious answer that I think most of our audience knows is you always start from the learning goals. So what do the students really need to learn? And then you ask yourself, what do they already know? On what basis am I building my education? But to give a little bit more of a personal answer, I always start from a place of where is my own excitement, my own passion, my own interest, and I try to reach that when preparing for an educational event. Because if I cannot convey that this is interesting and important and relevant, if I don't have passion, how will the students ever get engaged? How will they recognize that, yeah, maybe I should pay attention? And when I was a student, I really didn't like seeing teachers who were sort of bored or disengaged and who looked like the last thing on earth I want to be doing is teaching here. So they are kind of serving as adverse role models in the back of my mind. And of course, I also had a lot of inspiring teachers and inspiring colleagues to learn from. Another thing that I want to say is that these days we're often, as teachers, very concerned of the attention span of students. How will they be able to follow for 90 minutes without mobile phones or social media? And sometimes the answer we go for is, let's put all sorts of technological toys and polls and these sort of interactional activities into the lecture. But then again, thinking back at my own university years, social media didn't really exist. Smartphones didn't exist. We were not addicted, but we also didn't have those tools. But inspiring lectures did exist. Inspiring professors have always existed, and teachers. So I think my preparation trick is to start from the passion and from the caring and go to that place of emotion. Why do I want to be here in the first place, and why should the students pay attention?
Yeah, I think you did quite a good job on that, because actually the judges from the UTEA finale also agreed on you that the way that you approached the audience with your genuine interest also really helped them to pay attention to the rest of the lecture that you gave. So good job on that.
Thanks.
On top of that, I understood that you're quite a new lecturer here in general. Like,
yes, that's correct.
How much experience do we have here?
So I started half-time in November 2021. So relatively new, yes.
All right. So how do you experience this whole new career switch as a teacher? Does it feel rewarding in any way?
Yes. So before I became an assistant professor, I was a clinical psychologist, actually, in my country of origin, Finland, for 10 years. And that was rewarding. But being in this position is 10 times more rewarding. It's an interesting double position that you have as a professor, because you have your researcher identity, but you have your teacher identity. And they really go hand in hand. And that's really important for us to acknowledge, that at the university, there is no good teaching without good research. There is no good research without good teaching. So they're very entangled, and that is extremely rewarding. And then, of course, at the personal level, what is rewarding is being part of these journeys where students learn something so much more than content. They learn things like they can tackle challenges that they never thought they could tackle. Master's thesis can be a good example, or a bachelor's thesis. So I love being part of this journey where students learn life skills. It's not learning for university, it's about learning for life. Learning things like, I can do things I never dreamt that I could do. And being sort of a coach on that journey is extremely rewarding. And I think that I'm speaking for the fantastic community of colleagues that I have in the audience.
Yeah, it's good to hear that you want to be yeah. Good that you can be such a great inspiration, not only to teachers, but also to students, to everyone, really. No. But also, you briefly mentioned you are a Finnish teacher. So you're also quite new to the university and the international community here. How have your experiences been so far with joining them?
I can only say it's been so smooth and effortless joining the international community, and I can only hope that it stays that way in the future for other international colleagues joining the university. So I've always felt welcome. I've always felt at home here. And we have a rich community of 200 and plus nationalities in teaching staff and in students. And I think that's a resource we need to cultivate. It's not just a buzzword, internationalism. It really brings educational benefits, research benefits. It inspires us to learn to think differently, because we interact with people from different cultures. So I think it's an elementary benefit and a gift that I would really like to see maintained and facilitated also in the future.
Yes, that's a very good vision. My last question for you to close it off. Of course, I imagine you're going to keep teaching for quite a bit in the future. Do you have a vision on any issues or arising problems that may happen in the future of education?
Well, I think I'm giving a kind of boring answer, but at the same time, I have to also speak for a lot of colleagues and kind of give a voice to discussions that we've been having about things like ChatGPT, artificial intelligence. There's a lot of conversation going on if these are compromising good quality thesis, if ChatGPT will, to some extent, replace teachers, and these kind of worries, possibilities, potentials, a lot of discussion going on. I don't think ChatGPT or AI will replace teachers because, as I just talked about passion, I think robots are not that good at delivering human passion spontaneously. Maybe they can do something else for us. So just to give a short answer, but I want to hear from you as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I do agree on the educational part that it's important to take into account where technology is going, like especially recently with artificial intelligence making a rise. But I think it's also important to consider the personal growth that also belongs to, studying at the university. Because, of course, for most of us, it's also the start of your adulthood when you're going outside of your parents' house, going to a new place. It's also the perfect place to start your own growth, like think of who you are, who you want to be later, what you want to do. And it's a great place to try different things, like make new friends, join an association, work together with people on a not educational level. I did that a lot in my student times, and I've experienced a lot of personal growth that way. Like, otherwise I would not be standing here right now, to be honest. And I wish that in the future we can keep on giving students to grow on that part as well, not just inside of education. Especially after the corona pandemic, I hope that students are willing to pick this up again and really develop themselves, which will always be helpful for them in the future. Yes.
Thank you.
So those were my questions. Again, Heidi, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'll give the word back to Tom, along with this beautiful check.
It's up to you to hand it over.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
And a check of 25,000 euros.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Heidi and Rick. Now, an other tradition is that we select the best master thesis for every faculty. Since we have 5 faculties, we have 5 best master theses. And we have summarized them and also the winners in the next video. Please watch.
Welcome to the Graduation Awards Tour at the University of Twente. My name is Daphne. I'm a Bachelor in Communication Science. And today, we will be meeting the 5 lucky winners and awarding them with a certificate. Oh, and 1,000 euros. Let's meet our first winner, Vissa. Vissa, what are you doing?
Hi, I'm a mathematics teacher and I'm teaching currently how to calculate shortest path in a graph.
So does this have anything to do with your research?
Yeah, it is. So what we tried to do was to introduce Dijkstra's algorithm to calculate shortest paths to students between 14 and 16 years old to prepare them for their future jobs.
So what do you like the most about your job?
I like that I can make a difference for my students.
Yeah.
To learn them mathematics, but also to make them happy doing mathematics.
Well, congratulations once again on your award, Vissa.
Thank you so much.
And now, let's meet our next winner, Esli. Wow, Esli, that's a lot of colors you got here.
Yes, indeed.
So can you tell me a bit more about your research?
Of course. So I've been making these structural colors. So colors not based on molecules, but on these nano-sized domains. And with that, we want to sense ethanol vapor. So our materials change color based on ethanol.
And would you consider yourself a creative person?
I would say so, yes. I also like to do creative stuff outside of my work, so some drawing, painting, and all those kind of things, yes.
Would you say that your creativity tied into your research?
I would say so. So this is definitely a design project. So you have to think about all the components there, reach out to other people outside of your field, and make it work together with everyone.
Well, congratulations once again for winning, and you deserve it for such an interesting research.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's meet Lara, who will tell us a bit more about her interesting toolkit. So your thesis was about inclusive education. How did you research this?
So when I found out that only 38% of children with disability in the Netherlands in primary school years go to mainstream education, I wondered what can I do about it. So my goal was to create a more inclusive environment for children with disabilities that you cannot see.
So what were your results from your thesis?
Well, the results were this toolkit, and the unique part about it is that instead of only targeting the child or children that may have the difficulty, it was all the school. So first, we have here a booklet where they can see how to navigate their emotions and behaviors.
Yeah.
Any child can use this. And then one also for the schools and the parents.
Nice.
Additionally, you see this crate that will be present in the classroom where they have ways to connect with their emotions, not only with their thoughts. So for example, this lavender that helps you calm you down if you're feeling stressed, plushes that you can squish. So it was a more fun and interactive way to approach this disability.
And besides your research, do you have any hobbies you're interested in?
So my main hobby is that I study Japanese, and this had a bit of an influence on my research because studying Japanese really allowed me to challenge how I think people express their emotions. And just because they don't do it in what I consider conventional doesn't mean that it's not valid.
Well, congratulations on your award, Lara.
Thank you.
How do you say congratulations in Japanese?
Omedetou.
Omedetou.
Thank you.
And now, Irian. This is so impressive. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so this is the Van Allen radiation belt. This is actually a proton radiation belt, and this caused many bit flips in spacecraft in history.
What are bit flips?
Yeah, well, bit flips are basically, well, you have computer memory, and when some bits get flipped, they can cause a lot of problems in these computer systems. So, for example, they can cause failures in computer systems.
And does this have anything to do with your research?
Yeah, so one part of my research focuses on mitigating these effects. So mitigating these bit flips. So that's actually one part of my research, and the other part is focusing on security.
And you're planning to do a PhD here at the UT, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to continue my research in a PhD. I'm going to do this PhD in collaboration with ESA, the European Space Agency. And I'm very happy to once again become part of the Pact of the university. So that's a very nice opportunity.
Well, congratulations, Eden. We're really happy you're part of the Pact again.
Thank you.
And now let's meet our last winner of the Graduation Awards Tour, Sahara. Hi, Sahara. How are you doing?
Hey, Daphne. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Congratulations on winning your award. It's really cool.
Thank you so much.
So you studied at the ITC faculty, right? Have you took a look at the brand new Langazides building?
Unfortunately not, because last November after finishing my master's, I came back home to Nepal. So I never got a chance to be in the new building, but my friends now who've now moved to the new building keep sending me updates. Hopefully I will someday be able to visit.
Could you briefly tell us what your research was about?
So in my research, I looked at models that help the humanitarian agencies to make informed decisions before a disaster. So it tells you when and where you can intervene. to support the people in need before a disaster. So I was looking at how you can make these processes more explainable to the decision makers.
What motivated you to pick this topic?
I think from the beginning of my career itself, I have been inclined towards humanitarian actions. So before I did my master's, I worked for 3 years in Nepal earthquake reconstruction here. So I knew I had to choose something that was related to a humanitarian project.
Well, Sahara, congratulations once again on your graduation award. We hope you do great things with this award because you really deserve it.
So
Thank you so much.
make the best out of it.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
It was such a pleasure to meet these young talents doing amazing research. And for the future, I wish them all the best. Bye!
Thank you. Yeah, great examples of the kind of research and also the diversity of topics we actually address here at this university. Now, as Rector Magnificus, it seems that I'm responsible almost for everything, research, education, innovation. So that makes you wonder what the rest of the executive board actually does. But I can assure you that we actually are a real team. And that's why I first want to invite my team members, Vinod and Machteld, on the stage, so we can jointly actually recognize our winners and open the academic year. And this is the moment that all the award winners who are actually here, please come up on the stage so we can make a photograph and also you can get your recognition. Please come up. And of course, flowers are part of the game. And I had already the luck to have coffee and cake with them this morning. A few more flowers, please. So please join me first in an applause for all these fantastic award winners. And I look at the photographer. Enough? Yes? Okay, thank you. Well, please keep standing. We like the color on stage. And the only thing what is left us to do is actually officially opening the academic year. So hereby I open our new academic year, 2023-2024. And I wish you all a great academic year. Let's start the new year.